Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've all been okay and looking after yourselves. I'm now 21, which means that I have more books to read. Today's book is You Against Me by Jenny Downham. She signed it for me. It's 412 pages and took me 3 days to finish. It has a 4-star rating on Goodreads, but I rated it 5. I haven't read a book that's done this to me in quite a while, so pre-warning, I'm basically just going to be singing this book's praises. You against me. If someone hurts your sister, you seek revenge, right? If your brother's accused of a terrible crime, you defend him, don't you? When Mikey's young sister claims a boy assaulted her, his world begins to fall apart. When Ellie's brother is charged with the offence, her world starts to unravel. When Mikey and Ellie meet, two worlds collide. One of the first things I noticed when I started reading this was the sentence structure. Just lovely. Too many short sentences in a paragraph and it seems disjointed, nothing flows. Too many long sentences and the reader will get bored. I was barely a few pages into the first chapter when I realised that the varying sentence structure was just so effective, it just made it nice to read. The narrative is great, there aren't any information dumps. But only a few pages into the first chapter, I was already thinking what's going to happen next, and there's suspense. I'm not going to lie, I started shipping characters right from the off. You're introduced to quite a few characters in the first few pages and their relationships with each other. The general themes are made apparent quite early on in this book. I'm shocked at how well it deals with delicate themes such as sexual assault and the effect on the people involved. The introduction to the romance plot is quite brilliant. It's just real, as in things don't go perfectly. The guy tries to impress the girl and embarrasses himself. It is quite funny. Although the flirting game is so strong, it had me grinning. I feel that it's very tailored to the teen or slightly more young adult audience, as there's a lot of relatable social context. Quite early on, I felt that this book addressed relationships on a rather large scale, examples being siblings, romantic relationships, parents and kids, and how they can all affect each other. This book was one of those that you become so absorbed by that when you feel you've been reading for 5 minutes, you check the page number and 100 pages have come and gone. I have to tell you about my first laugh out loud moment. As I said, I feel that this book is quite realistic and accurate in a social context. One of the first times that Mikey and Ellie are alone together, he gets a phone call from his sister and says something like, "Oh, sorry, that was my sister on the phone." And Ellie is just relieved that he doesn't have a girlfriend. I just thought, mood. I am a huge fan of descriptive writing. It's something I love to both read and write, and some of the metaphors in this book are just wonderful. There's a scene that takes place in a forest, well, the woods, and the personification is just wow. The first scene that I felt was where they first started to realise or accept that maybe there was something more than friendship between them was unbelievably cute, but no spoilers. Oh my goodness, the first kiss was ridiculously cute. I mean, I'm a sucker for the soppy stuff anyway, but I had to hold myself together because my mum was sat opposite me at the time I was reading the scene. Actually, for whatever reason at that point, I ended up reading the synopsis again, and this wave of dread just slowly came over me, as it made a lot more sense due to knowing the characters, etc. I just thought, oh dear. I can't get over how realistic I found the romance and relationships to be in this novel. As the protagonists start to realise how they feel about each other, they become more nervous and anxious, but their confidence is ridiculous. At one point, Mikey just says to Ellie, "I like you," and she says something like, "That's a bit dramatic," but I just thought, give me some of that confidence. At this point in the novel, they sort of bounce off of each other and just seem to click. And I guess what you'd call sexual immorality is a theme consistent throughout this book, and it made me check myself in regards to making assumptions about people without knowing their story. I don't want to give anything away, but there was a character I thought ill of from the start of the book until I found out some of their backstory, and I just thought, oh, okay. I was halfway through reading this when I reminded myself that this is by Jenny Downham, who also wrote Before I Die. I thought the romance is still there, but the storyline is completely different, and it's an entirely different context. I feel that I had a relatively sound understanding of some of the events simply due to members of my family who have done social work or something similar working in the social services sector. Piecing more and more together as I read this in regards to what I knew from the synopsis was quite fun and satisfying, but also devastation started to hit once I matched the characters up. I was about halfway through the novel when I really started to ship Mikey and Ellie, but there was also this slight sense of dread that I had given what I could then make sense of from the synopsis. Oh my goodness, the devastation when everything began tumbling down. The line, "I knew all along you were only pretending to like me," caused me so much frustration. It's another one of those situations where the reader knows things that certain characters don't, and reading them act so irrationally at the detriment to themselves based on something false that they believe to be true is pretty painful. But I just ended up thinking, well, I've got to carry on reading. Jenny Downham, oh my goodness. So, not long after the part I've just mentioned, I'm going to try and describe this without any spoilers. Basically, around the beginning of the novel, the protagonist Mikey plans a revenge plot on behalf of his sister. Things don't go to plan. Fast forward to halfway through the novel, and what Mikey had initially planned actually ends up happening. And oh my goodness, my jaw dropped. It was so cleverly written because it came out of nowhere, or so I felt. But once it's happened, you realise the gradual build-up that had actually taken place. At the end of chapter 23, I was kind of left thinking, well, what happens now? There are about 200 pages left, and everyone's relationships with each other are pretty much destroyed. If anything, that made me more excited to carry on reading. I think a book is pretty good when you're reading and realise you're grinding your teeth in apprehension and don't know how long you've been doing it. Oh my goodness, just when I thought I knew where this book was going, another plot twist. Ellie's brother has been charged with sexual assault. His family believe he didn't do such a thing. I had just over 100 pages left at this point, and Ellie keeps saying to her mum, "I need to tell you something." Her mum finally asks what's up, and she says so bluntly, "Karen Mackenzie's telling the truth." I could not deal. It was such a plot twist. If you want to understand the significance of what on earth I'm on about, you'll have to give this book a read. Okay, so chapter 34, I'm aware that I've almost finished the book. I'm shipping Mikey and Ellie more than I ever have previously, but it's also at this point that I realise they might be in a toxic relationship, which hurts because I ship them so much. At this point, I believe they do care about each other, however, they may not be best for each other. Things tend to go wrong, their loved ones get hurt, there's quite a bit of falling out, not speaking, then figuring things out again. But as the reader, I'm so invested in their relationship at this point, and I really want things to work out. I fell in love with the whole puppy love concept in this book. But then I questioned, is it puppy love? It was my first thought because of their age, but, as in them just believing they're in love rather than just feeling infatuation. But the amount of time that they spend together and the conversations they have aren't immature at all. They make such an effort to discover each other, and I'd be surprised if anyone could read this and not become invested in their relationship. I'm a soppy romantic, if you don't know by now, and I have a mental list of my favourite fictional kisses between characters. It was technically their second kiss, but it was their first kiss where they knew exactly how they felt and where they stood with each other, and their heads weren't so scrambled. Mikey and Ellie's kiss has made my top 10. Just when I thought the story I'm following must nearly be coming to an end, with less than 100 pages left, one line just completely threw me off. Again, I just didn't see it coming. At all. To be honest, that's something I loved about this book. The amount of plot twists constantly keep the reader on their toes, but they all fit into the plot and make sense in context. What I mean to say is that sometimes you can come across lazy writing, as in, I don't know what to write next, so I'll kill this character off, or I'll throw this into the mix. And it makes the plot disjointed. It's uncomfortable to read. This book was not like that. I loved every twist and turn that the plot took. Every time that I thought I had everything figured out, there would be another bombshell that I didn't see coming, and I absolutely loved it. There were so many jaw-drop moments for me, and I haven't read a book that's done that to me for quite a while. Oh my goodness, chapter 40. The heartache. Jenny, how could you? Things take a dramatic turn for Mikey and Ellie, and I felt that as the reader, you're presented with an opportunity to decide who you actually think is in the wrong. Honestly, I felt cheated and misled by everything that I'd read up until that point, but that's the life of a bookworm. Every time you pick up a book, you have to acknowledge that you may be accepting to experience emotional trauma at the hands of a paperback. The conversation that takes place made me realise how emotionally invested I'd become in these characters, and the idea that what I'd been hoping for throughout the duration of this novel might be snatched away from me did not give me a pleasant feeling. Then came chapter 41. The right thing was happening, and it would be somewhat one of the best outcomes, but you don't want any of the characters you've grown to love to get hurt in the process. I actually held my head in my hands in devastation at this point, but I'm still compelled to carry on reading. It hurt that a character I'd grown to love had been lying for basically most of the novel. After the emotional connection you make with a character as the reader, I felt somewhat betrayed, but there was still that sense of, I need to know what happens next. For most of the novel, I took quite a disliking to Ellie's mother, simply due to her ignorance, audacity, and obnoxiousness. But everyone loves a good character arc, and not long before the end of the novel, she defends Ellie and Ellie's actions to her father, and I just thought, okay, I don't dislike her as much now. The ending, oh my goodness, I'm a total sucker for a soppy ending. If you're a romance fan, this is a must-read. I would personally class this as a teen romance, but I love that it's so accurate. The portrayal of issues that teenagers and adolescents have to deal with aren't glamorised at all. Jenny, I have so many questions about what happens after the end of the novel. When I picked this book up, I had no idea that I'd become so attached to Mikey and Ellie, but I'm so glad that I got to meet them. And yes, I talk about fictional characters as if they're real, because in more ways than one, after you've read their story, they really are. Towards the end of the novel, I was just desperately hoping that there wouldn't be any loose endings. I was so happy with how it ended, but it's honestly one of the first books I've read that's made me want to know the story beyond the book. What happens to them after the end of the story? I want to know about their lives beyond the story that's told. So this is what I love about the written word. It's situations like these where I'd usually turn to fan fiction. Maybe I'll write some, who knows. I actually saw a meme on Pinterest that I thought was rather relevant. It looks like a dictionary definition, and it says book hangover, noun, when you try to read another book but you're still living in the last book's world, which I thought was pretty accurate. I know the book's finished, and I've read it, but I'm not yet finished with it emotionally. If for any reason it isn't obvious, I would definitely recommend this book to all romance fans and teen drama fans. Jenny, thank you so much again for sending me this book. Join me next time where I'll be reviewing the Trill Trilogy by Amanda Hocking. Happy reading, guys!